Meaning that you rather die than hold this microphone. That was me. But when I began to take these things literally, it's like that hypothetical example I gave you earlier on. Like maybe when you have this dream, a vivid dream, where your future is shown to you. And you're like, and you wake up from that dream and it feels so real. And you know with certainty that this is your future. You can't live anyhow. From that day, I had to start training myself. You know what? One of the ways that I started training myself was when they asked me to lead house fellowship. Not house fellowship, but cell meeting. Yeah? I just said yes. But ordinary cell meeting, I was shaking. But because, I can be very charismatic, you will not know. I was shaking. Over time, I'm like, this is not that bad. Okay, I can do this. And I started to like it. Then slowly, I started to enjoy it. Okay. Then slowly, I started to look forward to it. And then slowly, I started to seek it. And then slowly, I said, okay, let's take this further. And I remember back then, I went to the pastor of our church then, Church Unusual, in Benin here. And I told him that I wanted to be teaching the church members social media management for free after church. And I said, really? Okay. And every Sunday, I would do it for free. Every Sunday. Now, they were happy to learn, but they didn't know that I was learning. I was doing target practice. I was practicing my charisma. I was practicing my stage presence, my public speaking skills, my sense of humor. When you land a joke and nobody laughs. Okay. Feedback. That's feedback. All right. You land the next one, right? I didn't care. It was church. Do your worst. It's even free. I'm not even paying. So manage me. Right? But the consequence was that over time I got good. And I got comfortable with public scrutiny. And that is a skill that you all must have if you want to go global. Don't kid yourself. You've got to get comfortable with public scrutiny. One thing that every young person, especially of your age, has going on in the back of their minds, and it's natural, I get it. You're always so concerned about what people are saying or thinking about you. I understand. I'm not castigating it or putting it down. I've been there before. And once in a while, of course, as a human being, it will creep up again. But as somebody who is aiming to be the light of the world, it is something you have to master and bring under subjection. All right? It's not only sin that you have to bring under subjection. It is things that will dampen your light, such as fear, such as timidity, such as shyness. You know, when I was a BIU student, one of the things I used to do, I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm just telling you what I used to do to get out of shyness, is that when the lecturer asked a question, whether I knew the answer or not, I would raise my hand. Why? Because I was trying to get used to having people look at me and me not fainting. I know some of you, some of you are very brilliant, but you don't raise your hand because when everybody now stares at you, if I don't, yeah. But the moment I knew there was a day I knew I was going to be great. Not confession. I remember when I knew. I remember where I was when I knew I would be great. I remember where I was when I knew. Not that somebody told me or that I believed. Not that I believed I would be. No, belief and knowledge are not the same. When I knew for certainty that I was going to be popular, that I was going to be famous, I knew how to train. I had to train for it. I knew. So as a student, when they ask a question, I'll raise my hand and I'll stand up. I had to get used to the fact that everybody, for those few seconds, will be looking at me, anticipating what I was going to say next. Get it right, get it wrong, I didn't care. I said something. And over time, that was when I was in final year. When I was in final year, people came up to me and said, you've been in school for 4 years, and how come I'm just meeting you for the first time? That's how shy I was. Only people in my class, maybe on my floor, knew me. For those first 3 years. It was my final year I came out. Because that was the year, I don't remember what happened, Something happened that year that I just knew I would be great. I could see it. And I had to start coming out. So where am I coming from? You are the light of the world. Not the light of Benin. The world. You are the salt of the earth. Not the salt of your pot of soup. Yeah? You are the salt of the earth. And you know what? When you go further in that verse, you guys quote so emphatically. It goes on and says, of what use is salt if it cannot give flavor to the food? It is useless and only useful to be thrown on the ground and trodden underfoot. And that cannot be you. It is your duty to have influence. So we're talking about geopolitics. You have to understand the world. Say you are global, but you don't know other countries. You have to know other countries. You have to know what is happening. What's happening in Israel? What's happening in Palestine? Compare and contrast. Where did Israel come from? Most of you, all you know of Israel is Bible. But you're wrong. Do you know when the state of Israel was created? Many of you don't know, and I won't tell you. Google it. Do you know when? Under what circumstances? Google it. Research. Was it David or Solomon that said, it's the glory of God to what? Conceal a thing. But it's the honor of kings to do what? To search it out. Don't behave like a peasant. What a peasant is? A commoner, a poor person. Don't behave like a commoner. You just, that's why you are so easily controlled. Don't be a zombie. It's the honor of kings to search it. So it's God himself that will hide it. No problem, hide it. It's what we do for a living, research. We make it our job to know. You know one thing that people do a lot, especially in Africa? Some people have made not knowing something feel like swag. I don't know. That is so dumb. You're making it sound. I don't know. And they make it seem so cool. Man, I don't know. Some add for net to it. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And it sounds so swaggy. That is dumb. You make it your duty to know. Hey, Chiamaka, why Israel and Palestine? Why didn't they fight? Oh, I don't know. All these people. No. That is not what kings do. That is not the attitude of kings. You make it your duty to figure it out. You research. Mene Tekel Upharsin. Have you seen that in the Bible? Where did it come from? It says the king of where? Persia. He saw it and he could not figure it out. He didn't say, I don't know what's in this thing, I don't know all this. He called all the wise men and give them an ultimatum. Figure this thing out. That's how kings behave. Figure this out. And that's where Daniel came forward. One is Daniel, but do you have the attitude of Daniel? Is the glory of God to what? Conceal a thing. And you know one thing about the modern world? The powers and principalities of this world, yeah, whether they are Christian or not, they derive their behavior, their mode of operation and control from the Old Testament God. Have you noticed? If you read the Old Testament God, the powers of this world, the empires of this world. When I say empires, I don't mean even old empires. They are modern day empires. The United States is an empire. The empires of this world mirror the characteristics of the Old Testament God. So when I say it's the glory of God to hide a thing, sometimes it's the glory of the government to hide a thing. It's the glory of the news stations to conceal a thing. It's the glory of blogs to hide a thing. Sometimes it may even be the glory of Google to hide a thing. But it's the honor of kings to search it out. We'll figure it out. Tell yourself, give me 2 days. I'll figure this out. Give me a month. I'll figure this out. All right? So geopolitics. Everybody must understand geopolitics. You want to conquer the world? You must learn about the world. How does the world work? How does a condition in a certain country affect the condition of another country? How do they trade? What is foreign policy? What is foreign affairs? Why do I need to have a passport to enter another country? What is a passport in the first place? I learned that whenever I say passport, I have to add international, or Nigerians will not understand. International passports. You know we're the only ones that say that in. A passport is a passport. Not international. And let me tell you why. There was once a time when we had two different kinds of passports. There was a time, actually. There was one we called the ECOWAS passport when I was very young. One called the ECOWAS passport. That one could only take you in within ECOWAS, that is West Africa. Then there was one separate one that was the international one that you could go internationally. But over time, they just scrapped the idea of just having one for ECOWAS. So they merged it. It now became just one passport. That's why if you have a passport, there's ECOWAS written on it. But it has now been joined and said, okay, this one can take you outside Nigeria and also within ECOWAS. So before that differentiation was made, we had to specify which passport you were using. Because when you are at the airport trying to travel, they will look at it. Where's your ECOWAS passport? Where's your international passport? But that was many years ago, decades ago. Over time, they said there was no use for that, so they merged them. So all we have is a passport. So when you go abroad and you are saying international, they don't understand international. It's a passport. Anyway, you'd ask yourself, why do you have a passport? Why do you need a visa? What is a visa? Why can a South African enter a country like Brazil visa-free, but a Nigerian cannot? What differentiates me from the South African? These are questions you must ask, and these answers you must have in your mind as you plan to conquer the world. You must know how the world works. Why do I need a visa just because I was born in Nigeria? It was just on the news yesterday that Rwanda had removed all visa restrictions for African travelers. Ask yourself, why? You are trying to take over the world, you should know what's happening in the world. All right? So, geopolitics, understand that. Another thing you must know is biology. And when I say biology, I mean your own human biology. And that goes beyond head, shoulders, knees, and toes. All right? You have to understand how your body works. It's not for medical students, no. You must know how your body works. All right? Men and women. And I might even argue, most especially women. All right? There's some times where you feel very productive, sometimes when you feel unproductive. Try to understand why. Understand the role of food. Okay? Certain kinds of food in making you more energetic or making you dull. There are certain foods you eat, if you are very observant about your body. There's some foods you eat, that you eat it, you feel very alive. There are some that you eat, you feel a bit sluggish. All right? Understand yourself. Okay? Something I wanted to say now, but there are some students here, but understand your body. That's why I'll leave it at that. The rest I'll say on night school. Amen? Yeah. So, understand how the body works. Well, the next thing is psychology. Everybody must understand psychology. Understand how the mind works. Your mind is your engine. Your mind is what will determine what you will do on this earth. All right? What does your Bible say? It says that guard your heart diligently. And when it says heart, it sometimes is used interchangeably with mind. So when it says guard your mind, guarding your mind is not the only thing you've got to do with your mind. You've got to understand how the human mind works. understand, so write down this thing, go and Google this thing when we leave here. Write down this thing called psychological warfare. Write it down. It's a thing. Psychological warfare is a war on your mind. It is so effective and so dangerous that the United States military is prohibited by law from using it on US citizens. By law, they are prohibited from using psychological warfare on US citizens. Wow. Is it that powerful? Interesting. So what is this thing? Does it mean something beyond what I think it means? Google it. Go to Wikipedia and read everything under psychological warfare. It's the war on your mind. You understand how people are indoctrinated so you can protect your mind with superior thinking. All right? So, psychology. Your ability to resist being influenced, even subliminally. As part of psychology, you have to understand something called media literacy. Who knows what media literacy means? See? Almost nobody knows what media literacy is. But none of your parents should have allowed you watch a television without telling you the meaning of media literacy. You have no business watching news, being on social media, watching television, until you have educated yourself on media literacy. So what is media literacy? Yes? You want to say something? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, from my own understanding of media literacy is you being able to discern media messages, not taking it as face value. It's like a political news is aired on television. Just like John Obidi said, you should be able to know who is the bearer of that message. What are his intentions in passing that message? Not just you accepting the message like that.
Round of applause for her, please. And then, moving on from there, media literacy will teach you that not all news is news, and that every news station has an agenda. This is what your parents should have told you first, before they allowed you to start watching news. So what you're saying on the news. Yeah? Watch it, but you must be educated first. Listen. You must come to a level where you can read an article, and from the first couple of paragraphs, you can discern which political party this person supports, even though they are not saying it. That is media literacy. You should be able to watch CNN, Fox, BBC, MSNBC, and from the first couple of sentences out of this person's mouth, you should be able to discern who they support. And because of that, it helps you understand how to take what they are saying. Because of that, it helps you to be able to judge their level of objectivity.